Ladies and gents, welcome back to the channel. We are 1 week away from the German Throwdown CrossFit competition. I've got two amazing insights and strategies that I'll share with you. One is going to be around nutrition and how you can prepare yourself for a competition. And then the second one is we're going to be meeting up with Yannick at the gym, where we will together share with you smart training principles based on skills and monostructural capabilities. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's talk nutrition leading up to an event. As I mentioned in the intro, we are now 1 week away from the German Throwdown CrossFit competition. So the focus now has shifted from trying to get the training in as much as possible to shifting to recovery, sleep, and nutrition. Those are going to be the three things that I'm going to be focusing on this week. So basically, when it comes to training, we're dropping down the volume drastically. The reason for this is because we want to give the body the ability to fill up its glycogen stores, and we'll talk more about how we're going to do that with the foods that we eat. Secondly, we're going to be increasing the amount of sleep, not only at nighttime, but also trying to get some good sleep in during the day. And then third, we're going to be focusing on our nutrition, where we will be solely focused on consuming as much carbohydrates as possible, because this is what the body uses as fuel, storing it both in the muscles and in the liver. Now, when we talk about fuel, we have to understand where our body gets fuel from, and that is from carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are our main source of fuel for both the muscles and for the central nervous system. Different sporting events will require you to have different nutrition strategies. Now, carbohydrates are directly broken down in the body to glucose. And glucose is your direct source of energy that you will use. If that glucose is not used right away, it will be stored in the muscles and in the liver as glycogen. Now, the reason why it is important for you to take this week, decrease your training intensity and to fuel up on good foods, is because you're giving the body the opportunity to fill up its glycogen stores. And there are different foods that you can use at different times to make sure that you are fueled up correctly. So if you are looking to build up your glycogen stores the week before the event, you are focusing very heavily on your starches. Your starches are things like rice, oats, bread, and wraps. As well as pasta. Whereas when you are directly at the event and you are looking to get good sources of glucose that can be easily and readily available to the body, you will be looking at things like sugars. Now, good sources of sugars will be your honey, of course fruits in the form of fructose, and then things like jam, as well as rice cakes. So those are the two ways that the body can use fuel. So either directly as glucose, or if not used, stored as glycogen in the muscles and in the liver. So now that we understand what carbohydrates are used for and how the body gets fuels, the differences between starches and sugars, we shift our focus to carbohydrate loading. Now, you might have heard this a lot in athletes talk, and what that essentially is, filling the body's glycogen stores with enough fuel so that it can support itself when it is under a bout of intense exercise or even endurance. Now, it is important to fuel up the body 1 week before. So normally you start a protocol where you start to insert more carbohydrates into the body so that it can fuel up its glycogen stores 1 week before the event. As you start getting closer and closer to that event, you will be increasing your carbohydrates. Now, the recommended amount 2 days before an event is 10 to 12 grams of carbohydrates per kg of body weight. So for me, I'm weighing 82 right now, so you're looking at somewhere around 900 grams of carbs 2 days before the event. So 1 week before the event, you start to really focus your attention on your starches, making sure that you're filling up the body with starches in your regular meals, and then focusing on your sugars during the training so that you don't deplete those glycogen stores. 2 days before the event, you'll be really intensively loading the body with 10 to 12 grams of carbohydrates per kg of body weight. Okay, so to bring it all together for you guys, I wanted to show you one of the meals that I like to enjoy the most to fill up my glycogen stores. This meal has a really good balance between starches and sugars. So we've got our oats as our main source of starch. We then top it up with some berries, which is our sugars. And then last but not least, so inside here we also have some chia seeds. So this is things like our fibers. And last but not least, we'll top it off with a bit of peanut butter just to ensure that we have our feeling of being satiated. So it's also important that when we fuel up, we want to make sure that we feel full. We want to make sure that, you know, we're not left after eating good food still feeling hungry. So here is my go-to meal, which is an overnight oats. It's got its starches, it's got its sugars, it's got its fibers, and then it also has a small amount of fat to make sure that we feel full after consuming our meal. Okay, so talking about fueling, we're just about to head out for our training session. I'm mixing some aminos from Artgerecht together with my creatine. This is what I'm gonna be sipping on during the training. And then I'm also going to cut up an orange. As we just discussed during the training session, it's really important right now, especially leading up to the competition, that we keep the glucose or the glycogen stores filled up. So during training, we don't want to deplete it, and that's the reason why I'm going to be eating some orange during the training session. So my friends, we're back at the gym and we are here to do the next episode of Smart Training Principles. Yannick is here with us to kind of give us an overview of the workout. Meisty, what do you have for us today?
Today we have something special for you, as always. Like more or less like a week before the German Throwdown, we're going to combine skill work under fatigue and monostructural work. So basically what we're doing is we have 3 different skills: string muscle ups, double unders, and handstand walk. And we're going to combine them with monostructural work before and after. So this will be one of the final preparations for the German Throwdown.
So we're starting now the generic warm-up. Basically we're going to do 500 meters here on the bike erg, then we're going to go onto the sled where we'll just do some sled drag. As we said, we want to really work or focus a little bit on prepping the knees, getting the rehab in or prehab in, whatever you may call it, whether it's rehab or prehab for you. So we'll do sled drag and sled pull, both forward and backwards. Then we will do some Pedersen step, which has been made famous by a gentleman or a handle called knee over toe guy, and some face pulls to open up the lats. Three, two, one, go. We just did 2 rounds, 250 meter ski erg, 50 double unders. I started with the monostructural and then moved on to the skill because right now I'm in a competition phase where I want to be able to practice my skills under fatigue. And if you're someone who is not preparing for competition, you can start with the skills first, because then you're not under that fatigue going into the skill, so you can really focus on getting the quality in the skill movement.
Or if you're not as fit as Ashton is, so talking about me, you should start with the skill, because otherwise you might not be able to do it.
Another really good combo. Music is a bit loud here, but this combination, again, starting, if your skill ability is not so good, to go on the rower and then into the handstand walks. For Meisty.
You saw what happened with Ash, nah? He couldn't finish the line, huh? It's harder than you think.
It was close, it was close.
I was slower, much slower, but at least I did the full length.
Yeah, that's what the Meisty always says.
Alrighty, so that was the finish of the smart training principles. Right now, Yannick suggested that we just do a last little high volume squat pattern. So what we're going to do is an EMOM of 20 wall balls on the minute, obviously for 5 rounds to finish 100 reps. And that'll be the last time that we throw in a high volume squatting pattern before the German throwdown. So this is the last little finisher for today's workout.
So, ladies and gents, thank you so much for joining us on today's session. We saw amazing training insights with the Meisty. What was your favorite part?
My favorite part was the one that I survived it. No, it was really fun. It was a little bit shorter, spicy, and I think we got some good movement quality in. And it's the final one before we now start really heavy to deload and taper for the final.
Hope you guys also enjoyed the nutrition insights. Hit us in the comments if there's anything else that you want to see, or if you have questions about your nutrition. Yeah, the next video that you will see is of us on the German Throwdown competition floor. Thank you so much for joining this journey so far. We hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you in the next one.